Picture Joplin in the late 1800s and early 1900s, a boomtown where miners, merchants, and railroad men converged. Prosperity meant downtown blocks went up fast, brick by brick, while elegant homes sprouted just a few streets away. Trains roared in, cash flowed, and culture followed. That energy still lingers in the architecture, the street grid, and even in a few notorious stories we'll get to later. Let's start at the gateway that welcomed generations of travelers. I'm talking about the Joplin Union Depot. When it opened in 1911, this wasn't just a train station, it was a statement. Designed by Lewis Curtis, a forward-thinking architect based in Kansas City, the depot was an early experiment in reinforced concrete and a clean, modern take on what a station could look like. You can feel the optimism in its massing. Broad, grounded, confident. Even if you're just visiting from the sidewalk and the public right-of-way, the exterior alone tells a story. At one point, you could stand here and watch the world stream in and out of Joplin, from St. Louis to Kansas City and beyond. Rail was the internet of the day. Connection, commerce, culture, and this building was the hub. Now, keep that energy in your mind as we head downtown. If you really want to soak in the feel of early Joplin, take a slow walk around Main and 7th. This core area is where the city put on its best clothes. Think of turn of the century through the 1920s with facades that mix confidence and ornament. You'll notice classical revival styles, strong cornices, arched windows, crowned entrances, built to last and to impress. Hotels and department stores, anchored corners, offices and clubs filled upper floors. If you look up, you'll see details that most people hurry past. Brick patterns, stone lintels, stamped tin, and decorative ironwork reminding you that even everyday buildings had dignity. This district isn't a museum behind glass. It's walkable and alive. Grab a coffee, then do one block with your head up, no phone, and count the different materials and textures you spot. It's a free architecture scavenger hunt. Next, we'll trade storefronts for front porches. Head just west of downtown and cruise or stroll through Murfreesburg, Joplin's historic residential district. Here, the city's Gilded Age story shows up in wood, brick, and stone. You'll see Queen Anne homes with wraparound porches and playful roof lines, colonial revival houses with centered doors and balanced windows, sturdy Tudor revival designs with steep gables and half timbering. You can do this as a self-guided walking tour with printable or interactive maps. Super easy. And it's a beautiful, quiet way to spend a morning. It's not a theme park. It's a real neighborhood where history is lived in daily. What I love about Murfreesburg is how it pulls you into the human side of history. You start imagining the people who built these places, store owners, mine operators, professionals, and how the street, trees, sidewalks, and porches shaped community life. On certain days and during some seasonal events, there are special open houses. But even on a random Tuesday, you can enjoy the craftsmanship from the sidewalk. If you're house hunting, this is also a neighborhood where you can find historic character without giving up convenience. Again, if that's you, text me at 417-439-7721 and we'll talk about what's on the market. From porches and parlors, let's swing to ceremony and grandeur. The Scottish Rite Cathedral on South Byers. Built in the early 1920s in its Beaux Arts style, it's an imposing structure with monumental columns and formal symmetry that pretty much says, "We're here to impress." Even if you never step inside, the exterior rewards a slow walk around. The scale alone and the crisp classical detailing remind you how civic and fraternal life once anchored a city's social calendar. Over the years, it's hosted meetings, concerts, and special events. Tours happen occasionally. If you're planning a heritage photo shoot or just love strong architecture, put this stop on your list. Now, ready for some hands-on history? Make time for the Joplin History and Mineral Museum in Schifferdecker Park. If Joplin's boom years were powered by anything, it was what lay beneath our feet: lead and zinc. The museum complex, home to the Everett J. Ritchie Tri-State Mineral Museum and the Dorothy B. Hoover Historical Museum, puts you eye to eye with that mining history. Mineral specimens that sparkle like treasure, tools that look like ingenious and dangerous exhibits, and other exhibits that walk you through how miners wrestled ore from the ground. Spend a bit of time with the maps and you'll see how the Tri-State Mining District knitted Missouri, Kansas, and Oklahoma together economically. You'll also find local history exhibits that go far beyond geology, including artifacts that remind you Joplin is full of surprising chapters. Speaking of surprises, a quick hop from the museum, historically speaking, lands you in one of Joplin's most infamous moments. In April 1933, Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow holed up in a garage apartment in Joplin. It ended in a violent shootout that killed two lawmen and sent the couple fleeing, leaving guns, personal items, and undeveloped film behind. Film that helped shape the public image of the pair for decades after. The building still stands, and yes, you can actually stay there as a short-term rental if you want to sleep in the middle of an American true crime legend. It's one of those places where the quiet of the neighborhood contrasts with the chaos that once erupted there. A sharp reminder that history isn't always tidy or noble. Let's lighten the mood with something both historic and fun. Route 66 Mural Park downtown. It's an easy stop with a big payoff, 2 large murals, classic neon vibes, and a 3D half-car installation that makes for a perfect photo. If you're road tripping the Mother Road, this is a natural pin drop. If you live here, it's an everyday reminder that Route 66 runs through the heart of Joplin's story. Take a couple minutes and get your picture, then look around. That intersection showcases the way 20th century travel shaped our downtown grid. While we're on the theme of travel and geography, there's a simple little stop that always makes people smile. The Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma tri-state marker. It's exactly what it sounds like. The point where Missouri, Kansas, and Oklahoma meet. You can put a foot in each state and a hand in the third, snap your photo, and claim 3 states in 10 seconds. It's also a neat reminder of how Joplin sits at a crossroads, something that mattered in the mining era and still matters for business and logistics today. Back to downtown for another gem with a living role, the Newman Building. Many locals still call it Newman's. Originally a grand department store that brought big city retail to Joplin in 1910. Today, the building houses Joplin City Hall, and if you're out and about during business hours, you can pop in and appreciate how an early 20th century commercial landmark has been repurposed to serve the city in the 21st century. It's a perfect example of adaptive reuse, keeping the bones, updating the life, and it gives our downtown steady foot traffic. When you stand outside and look up, imagine the Christmas windows of the past, the delivery trucks, and the families who made a day of shopping downtown. Even more than architecture, it's the rituals we layer on the places that turn them into landmarks. A few blocks away rises the Frisco Building, a vertical counterpoint to the low-slung depot we started with. Built in the 1910s as an office building with railroad functions on the lower floors, it was Joplin's move into the modern high-rise era. Picture clerks at tall desks, a dispatcher's office that hummed with telegraph traffic, and a cafe where workers traded news of departures and arrivals. Today, its second life includes lofts, another successful adaptation that keeps history fresh and useful instead of frozen. Now, history in Joplin isn't just miners and merchants. It's also resilience. Head to Cunningham Park, the city's oldest park, and sadly, one of the places most profoundly changed by the 2011 tornado. The memorials there, the butterfly garden, and overlook, the tribute to those lost. The framing of former house sites offer a quiet place to remember and reflect. It's a different kind of historic site, one where the meaning is less about ornament and more about community memory. Walk slowly, read the names, look at the outlines of houses that stood there. That too is a part of our story, and it's essential. From there, loop back into the city grid and you'll notice another historic beauty being restored to life. The Joplin Carnegie Library. Built in the early 1900s with the stately symmetry of classical revival design and clad with Carthage marble, it's a reminder that even a frontier-style boomtown invested in learning and public life. Like many Carnegies around the country, ours has gone through dozens of chapters. Public library, other uses, periods of vacancy, and now a renovation effort that aims to keep it in public view. Even a quick stroll around the exterior gives you those library as temple of knowledge vibes. Classic columns, formal entries, careful proportions. It's a great example of how Joplin's institutions aspired to match the ambitions of its entrepreneurs. All right, let's zoom back out and connect the dots. If you're planning a one-day history loop, here's a practical path. Start your morning downtown with coffee. Near 8th and Main or 7th and Main, walk a slow square. Main Street, turn, next block, back, to see as many facades as possible. Breath's better than a treadmill and far more interesting. From there, hop in the car and glide through Murfreesburg. Do the short self-guided tour. Choose 3 houses to take a picture of from the sidewalk and Write down what you like: porch depth, window pattern, roof line, especially if you're a home shopper. Preferences you notice there will help you dial in what you want to live it with every day. Then slide over to the Scottish Rite Cathedral for a few exterior shots. The scale will give your camera a workout. After lunch, head to the Joplin History and Mineral Museum. Give yourself at least an hour. The mineral collection alone is worth the time. And the historical exhibits fill in the people behind the ores. If true crime is your thing, add Bonnie and Clyde garage apartment to your route for a drive-by or a photo from the public right-of-way. Wrap the day at Route 66 Mural Park. It's golden hour heaven. And if you've got a few extra minutes before dinner, swing by the Newman Building to appreciate how well the old can carry the new. If the weather's good and the timing's right, a reflective stop at Cunningham Park is a meaningful way to end. Want to turn that into a weekend? Add side trips. The tri-state marker for a quick 3-state selfie, a deeper downtown architecture walk with a local brochure, and a return to your favorite stop to get the photos you missed. As you're visiting these places, here are a few look-for tips to make the day more fun. At the depot, look for the way the concrete frames windows and doors, a modern material used with an almost classical calm. Try to imagine the thunder of steam and steel echoing off those walls. On Main and 8th area, trace the roof lines with your eyes. You'll see an architectural conversation between neighbors. One building's cornice height influences the next, and so on. Also, spot the ghosts of old painted signs on brick party walls. In Murfreesburg, pay attention to those porch details. Turned posts, spindle work, and brackets on the Queen Anne homes, crisp centered entries and fan lights on the Colonial Revival, steep storybook gables on the Tudors. You'll quickly notice how style influences how people use the space. Queen Anne porches invite long social evenings. Colonial entries feel formal and ceremonial. At the Scottish Rite Cathedral, step back to fit the facade and frame and count the bays. Architecture this symmetrical communicates seriousness, perfect for a building meant for ritual and community. At the museum, stand in front of the large mineral specimens and consider the logistics of getting them to the surface with early 20th century tools. The ore wasn't just value, it was danger, engineering, and human grit. At the Bonnie and Clyde hideout, remind yourself, this was a quiet residential street. The contrast between calm architecture and chaotic history is what makes the place so arresting. At Route 66 Mural Park, take the classic photo, but then look down. Streets tell stories too. Stripes, manhole covers, curb cuts. Traverse culture is infrastructure plus imagination. At Cunningham Park, let the memorial pacing slow you. Public space can be a teacher as much as a playground. All of this adds up to a larger point. Joplin isn't a single story. It's ambition and invention, risk and reward, culture and community, tragedy and resilience. Historic sites are the bookmarks in that story. Places where we can stop, point, and say, this mattered. And if you're watching this thinking, I'd like to live near that neighborhood, or I want a home with a porch like that, keep in mind that history can be a daily lifestyle, not just a weekend plan. There are blocks in Joplin where you'll walk your dog past 100-year-old brick every evening and wave at neighbors from a porch that was built when Model Ts were new. If that sounds like your kind of life, text me at 417-439-7721. We'll set up a tour list that mixes architectural character with your practical needs. Schools, commute, budget. Before I wrap, let me give quick visiting notes for the highlights. For the Joplin Union Depot, the building is vacant. You're visiting the exterior from public areas. Bring a wide-angle lens if you're into photography. The massing reads well from the corners. Built in 1911, designed by Lewis Curtis. In Murfreesburg, grab the printable or interactive walking tour. Super helpful for identifying styles and notable houses. It turns a pleasant walk into a mini architecture class. At the Joplin History and Mineral Museum, check the website for hours and any special exhibits. The mix of mining and local history makes it a great stop for families too. And if you're curious about Bonnie and Clyde, the city has a concise history page, and the garage apartment's exact address is widely documented. If you decide to book a stay, plan ahead. For Route 66 Mural Park, punch in 619 South Main Street. It's a quick, easy, and photogenic. And for Tri-State Marker, it's a quirky, family-friendly add-on that's easy to reach. 1 minute, you're in Missouri, and the next you're in Kansas and in Oklahoma too. All right, let's land the plane. Joplin's historic sites are more than just pretty backdrops. They're invitations, inviting us to remember where we came from, to honor the people who built what we enjoy, and to keep writing the next chapter as well. If you take this route, Depot to downtown, Murfreesburg to cathedral, museum to mural, market to memorial. I think you'll come away with a deeper pride of our city. And if exploring these spots makes you want to plant deeper roots here, text me 417-439-7721. This video was sponsored by the Lundy Homes Group real estate team, and we'd be honored to help you buy, sell, invest, or just figure out which neighborhood fits your life. We help people, not just with contracts, but with context. So you feel at home in Joplin's story from day one. Thanks for coming along. If you found this helpful, like and subscribe. Drop a comment with your favorite Joplin site, or tell me which of the city's history or what part of the city's history you want me to explore next. And I'll see you out there next.